Grim Dawn Hardcore, QuestySparks. Getting back into this. Invisible mouse, I know. Alright, so I believe, it's been a couple days, but I believe that at the end of the last session, I was carrying on about doing a little bit of rooting around in the, that's for the Australian listeners, by the way, doing a little bit of rooting around in the stash, in the item assistant, and finding some things that could be useful for the build. Now, I've basically forgotten what I got, but we're about to find out. So as I explained long ago, I've got my stash tabs here. If I put stuff here, it gets whisked out of the game and stored in the item assistant. And if I go in the item assistant and say, get it back in the game, it comes in over here. So what I've done is in the item assistant, I've basically searched for, items that are level 5 to 15. And as you can see, I'm level 14, but 15 is right around the corner. Sorry about that, just 8. And basically, I've put a couple items in here that I think are going to improve the character. Now, again, hardcore account is very recent, so I don't have a big depth of items that I have available. So this stuff isn't going to be incredible, but we'll just kind of quickly go through it. Now, what I'm going to probably do here again is I'm going to switch to main hand weapon and an offhand instead of this that I have right now. But I'm not going to do that right away. I'm going to do that at level 15 because as you can see, well, never mind, I'm actually short spirit. So yeah, so we will probably have to level up again just to get that spirit for this one. But no matter what the cause is, I can't use this right away. So I'm actually just gonna kind of keep it here. So this is gonna be our new weapon and offhand set probably. You can see it's got a little bit of bleed damage on it, a little bit of attack speed. Doesn't really matter to me too much, but we do have a little more savagery, and a little bit more weapon damage to that. This one here, it isn't great by any stretch of the imagination. But I do want this in the offhand, the 28% all damage for my pets, and a little bit more offensive ability for them as well. Because right now they kind of do a fair amount of the damage. This one, what I'll probably end up doing is kind of keeping them as a separate set. Because this one's still significantly better for if I'm using my bloody pox. But as we stand right now, I'm not really the big damage dealer yet because that bloody pox isn't very well developed. So I'm just going to kind of keep this around. One of the things I do is I throw stuff in here that I think might be good. And if I don't like it, I'm not going to use it. I just throw it back in the other bin here. But looking around at some of this other stuff, we actually have some reasonably good items. So this one here gives me +2 right off the bat to my Summon Briarthorn skill. So that's great. It gives me some overall pet bonus there, makes them a little tougher, but it also gives me this other pet that will summon automatically 20% chance when I get slapped upside the head. That is usually pretty good. I like those type of abilities. Sort of automates a little added defense. And then we've got this here as well, so obviously gives me +2 ranks in Bloody Pox right away and a little bit of bleeding damage. So that is something that is quite useful to me as well. And obviously either of the rings that I have on right now, aside from some resistances and a little bit of energy regen, they're not really giving me that much that's incredibly useful to me. And as I transition out of using Lightning Nova, I don't really need a lot of energy regen. Primarily just because I'm not casting that often. The abilities that I cast are sort of duration abilities, so I can kind of recover mana while the enemy dies of my horrible diseases, which is a pretty ideal layout. So we're actually just going to replace both of these rings and toss the other ones in the bin there for future characters to use. Now as you can see, some of these I have add-ons already because I've used them with previous characters. Like I say, I don't have a lot in here. So most of these have been used a couple of times already just in the couple hardcore starts I've done. So one other thing that I found in there that we're going to want to do is actually add a ribbon or a medal. That's a slot that we haven't found anything for yet. And as you can see, straight up buffs all across the board and +3% experience gain. So we're going to get that in. And that's going to start to stack. Once we hit level 15, we're going to start wearing these explorer's gear. And the reason is, between all of it, we're going to be get up to 13% more XP. So we're just going to grab these. We're going to queue them up. So we'll switch to these when we get to the next level. And for now, we're probably just going to drop this in. Now, obviously, well, yeah, I mean this one is so kind of take it or leave it. I mean it's basically doubling the armor and that's about it. And it gives us a little bit of bleed and a little bit of cunning, which is nice. Um, yeah, you know, this one is not really that great of an upgrade, but we'll do it anyway. And this one here, this is not even nice enough to keep in the stash, so I'm just going to go ahead and toss it out. These ones here, this is an immediate upgrade. It's got slightly less health on it, but it does give me some spirit, which I know I need. And it gives me +2 to Heart of the Wild as well, which is one of my abilities that I intend to be using. So we're going to do that straight off the bat. And these ones here are pretty good, so we're going to toss that in. I mean, that's another one that's not a huge upgrade. This one is a pretty good upgrade. We got some health on there, we've got some energy regen on there, we've got some pet bonuses on there, including total speed, which is awesome for pets. So we're going to immediately upgrade to that one. This one does not suck either, so we're just going to toss that in there for someone else to use. And what I will say for Poe players out there, headhunters, a lot easier to get in this game than it was when I was playing Poe back in the day. I did get one, but that was only one during like thousands of hours of playing Poe. And this one here is Vendor Trash. All right, and then we've got this here, which is another level 15 one. This is just, it's nothing special. This is an item. It's sort of a named rare, like an infrequent, I guess you'd call that. That we are going to equip just to have something in that slot. All right, and then so you can see here, I'm just kind of packaging off to the side. These are all the things that I do plan to put on. And now we should make sure that we have everything, every slot here doing something. You can see here, basically when I mouse over the helmet, it's going to illuminate on the other side there. You can see it's illuminating the components that are compatible with that weapon, with that slot, right? So probably what we'll do here, because we have removed a bunch of energy regen, we're just going to quickly put some ectoplasm on the hat, and we're going to do the same down here, right? Because we want to pre-prep these so that as soon as we hit 15 out in the field, we could just slap those straight on. With the ring, once again, we're probably actually going to go with this one here and just get ourselves some stats, because remember, we are short on spirit. So if we want to be able to equip this tome here, we got to be at 262. So we're going to have to get this up a chunk, because we're at 223 right now. So it won't hurt to just get a bit of that in. Now this here, these boots, they are more or less shit. And we can't quite upgrade them with Mark of the Traveler yet. So these ones we're going to throw something else on, because we know we're tossing them out. These ones we're not. We're going to wait until level 20 and get Mark of the Traveler on them. Although why would we do that? We can always just remove whatever else we put on there. So yeah, we will just throw something on these. Looks like it's going to be some of this bristly fur. Which is going to give us a little bit of constitution, a little bit of health. So we'll do that on both of those, and we'll probably just pull it off of these later. We're going to unlock the NPC to do that. Unless we have already. I totally forget where we are in the game, but, you know, we'll get there. All right, quick look around. That looks like everything, and we're going to get rolling here. Not going to record an extra long session today, or at least I'm not intending to. And we'll try to remember to, you know, do the basics. For example, use my auras, summon my pets. These are the things. All right, this guy here, we've been killing some of the townsfolk that he knew in life, and we'll just let him know that we feel like we're kind of an ass kicker for doing that, and he'll give us some XP. All right, and then let's figure out where we were. Looks like we're working our way up to Burrich Village, which is where we're going to find the first big boss of the game. Eventually, There's a lot of territory to cover between here and there. And as you can see, I haven't been exactly going over the entire maps, but we're probably not going to either. I mean, this isn't like a completionist type of playthrough, and there's just so much content in the game at this point. It's a very mature title with a lot of add-ons and stuff like that. So we're just going to be trying to level and see how far this character can get. I was playing another one of my hardcore characters today, actually playing a ritualist, which I think I've mentioned before is a really strong class, actually. And that character has just gotten, I'm in sort of the, oh, I've been here. All right, fuck this place. That character is just kind of getting a little bit further along in the game too, and kind of relying almost entirely on pets, right? That character's operating with a Briar Thorn and a Blight Fiend, and just essentially letting them do all the work. Like, I do have a casting rotation. You know, I've got my Wendigo Totem out that's been upgraded. I've got the you know, the floor thing that spits poison all over the place, and I've got grasping vines as well that sort of slows the enemy. But all of those are just rank 1 so far. I mean, I think the character's like level 61 or something like that. I can't really remember. But the reason that I'm casting all those is just to sort of proc abilities that I've been unlocking on the devotion tree and stuff like that, right? You know, my chance on attacks. So I want to have those unlocking or activating, I should say, right? Okay, let's go ahead and dose up. This guy's doing some damage. These little guys there, that's like a life draining ability. I mean, it's essentially the same as a sigil of consumption. I forget how flimsy this character is to start out with. Yeah, see, we don't want to be there because that's hurting us and healing him. Bad news. It's why an elite version of those mobs is a little bit of a hassle. Alright, so this here, quest complete. I don't know if you remember in the last episode we found that cabin full of cultists. I was telling you probably about the fact that there's kind of the chthonic, however you pronounce it, cultists at war with the ethereals. They're trying to bring back the blood god. We killed a bunch of them, and we found this guy too badly wounded to heal, which of course is a story quirk I always love in games. You know, it's like in Skyrim when you're getting your ass kicked and you're just like punching through 20 or 30 health potions because there's no consequences to doing that. And then you meet somebody who's like, no, it's too late for me. And you're like, man, I got like 89 potions right here. You just want one of these? No, just listen. I have to deliver some plot. Anyway, we got that in here too, and that guy's name was Isaac. And he let us know where he'd stashed some gear, which is, I guess which is so shitty that we didn't even pick it up. Anyway, but that is what we have here from a previous run through. And we don't need them. I mean, it's one of those things where if you have no kind of item collection, then you kind of do, because it might be the first set of shoulder pieces that you actually pick up. But by this point in the game, if you still have rare magic item and rare toggled on in your item filter, you're probably going to get something for that slot anyway. And his drop there isn't particularly exceptional. Pretty early in the game, you actually start to see some pretty cool items, although it escalates rapidly. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I should eventually, and I am trying to get around to sort of finishing all the content that I need to on hardcore, on other characters, just so that I can start, you know, my characters off at elite instead of starting them off at veteran, just so I get better XP, better items, faster progression. Things are going to pick up for us just a little bit here when we get that explorer's gear on. You know, we're going to jump up by 13% XP income, which is really good. I mean, that's not too shabby at all. I've never really bothered building an XP set or like a leveling set, because later on in the game, it's Luther Graves. Just keep shoving people into my little rift gates here. They'll enjoy it. Sorry, just checking a message there. Very professional of me. It's a good thing I'm completely not professional. Nobody watches these. But yeah, so whatever the hell I was talking about, some kind of gear thing. Oh yeah, right, the XP. So one of the reasons I just don't bother with that is because eventually when you complete the Ashes of Malmoth content and you get your rep up with the faction there, the Malmoth Resistance, you'll actually end up being able to buy these potions. Potions of Clarity, maybe I think they're called. And basically what they do is they just double your XP income. Give you 100% bonus for an hour. They cost about, I think they cost like 40,000 iron bits. So I mean, it seems like a bit right now, or a lot of bits even. But it's really not later in the game. Like you'll just organically have a couple million bits on you by the time you've sort of gotten through all that content. And having that double XP is just way better than scrimping around on your gear and maybe being a little bit suboptimal just to get more XP fed in. You know, you just don't need it. So that's kind of why I don't worry about picking up gear that has XP bonuses on it. But in this particular case, I am going to use it because I'm a little noob at hardcore and I don't have all that stuff yet. We're just kind of tootling around here, clearing things, poking in caves because we want to make sure we tag all the devotion shrines on the way there, sort of keep developing that. I'm still in this agonizingly slow, no move speed on boots kind of scenario, but that's going to adjust really quickly. We'll hop up a bit of move speed at 15 when we're able to equip the Explorer's foot pads that we have on us. Now we're going to jump again when we get to level 20, when we can add the Explorer's mark to our boots. So speed is coming. Things will get a little bit more smooth flowing at that point. And the other thing that happens too is your abilities just go up, right? Like you just become more dangerous. And that's the plan, really. And obviously the eventual plan for this character is going to be completely different to what you're seeing right now. Like you're basically seeing this babby little character trying to survive, trying to level, getting hit in the face. This critter here, I actually technically could be going ham on it with lightning because it seems relatively cold themed. So I think that's what we'll do. We'll just cook through our mana bar here, get frozen by it. Our potions are in cooldown, so we're probably going to be fine. But you can see the speed jumps there, like where I'm attacking and just kind of freezing up and stuff. Those are all the effects of those cold-based attacks. You can get the same kind of thing with your character as well. You kind of want to have that, right? Like you kind of want to have a bunch of... Yeah, that's pretty good. It's not good for us, but it's pretty good. Burning damage and poison. It's quite nice. A little bit of a weird hitch right there. I don't know what that was. Speaking of weird little hitches, I have like kind of a little bit of an older system. You know, I kind of built it. Another hitch. I wonder what's going on there. I built it before kind of the big apocalypse of computer hardware, right? So I'd been kind of nosing around looking at deals. I'm ignoring this. I kind of remember it being a bit of a bitch, and I'm not very strong right now, so I'm just going to kind of... Another hitch. Well, who knows? If the video gets cut short, the video gets cut short. We'll see what happens. But anyway, yeah, so my computer, I've got like a... I went into the market around there, and actually what happened with my new build, I had like sort of an older SLI setup, and I was nosing around some... I think it was like Boxing Week sales or something like that, and I found myself a 2080 Ti back when the 2080 Ti was the top of the line card, and I found it for like 45% off, right? Like those cards were like stupid expensive, like just a dumb deal. Like why would you buy one? Unless of course you can get one for like $700, which I did. and bought myself that card, and I just put it in my old system, and I was still rocking this old chip. And I mean, it's honestly one of my favorite chips, the 3770K. And I had this thing massively overclocked and had been doing its job forever. But I got this new card, and I'm like, oh man, this card just bottlenecks the hell out of this old processor. So that ended up kind of getting me into a new build, you know. So I ended up going in, I built a pretty okay system, you know. I had like the processor upgrade to 9900K, and I know like everyone was getting really excited at that point about the AMD stuff, and me as well, getting excited about the fact that it looked like we actually had two companies that could make good gaming processors. But at the time, that 9900K, it was still the top of the charts. It wasn't the top of the value charts, but it was the top of the gaming charts. Like, it was sort of spitting out the best numbers all the time. Which is kind of all I really wanted, right? And I'd had such good experiences with the K series processors from Intel that I just, you know, decided to go with it. Anyway, long story short, built a cool computer, overclocked it up. I think I was running, you know, just pleasant overclock on my GPU and pleasant overclock on the processor. And then I started just fucking around with this YouTube thing that you're currently watching, and I was running encoding for videos, and I was actually driving my temperatures up to like 85 degrees, which is just not where I want it to be, right? Just because I'd sort of done a pretty clumsy, like power hungry overclock, and the 9900, it's not a cooling champ anyway, so even though I have like a 140 millimeter radiator on it and everything like that, it's just something about the way encoding was running it was a lot worse than when I Prime 95 stabilized it and all that jazz. So I got to fucking around. You know what? I've been telling this story for so long. I'm like, I'm going to finish this story and then level my character. We're getting into it a bit here where I should probably level my character and continue the story. But last night I was dicking around because I had declocked everything. Like, I'd set everything to default, and I need more spirit, so I'm just going to be pumping thus, just to get some more spirit. You know what? Let's test. Who gets me more spirit? That gets me 3. That gets me 9 spirit. Yeah, I'm thinking we're going to do that. Although, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess we do want this, and we do want this. Yeah, I mean, Shaman is really where we're gonna max out. So right now, it's like I do want to just be dumping into Bloody Pox as well, but you know, we may as well start climbing Shaman. We do want to get this. In fact, we want to get that so bad that we're actually gonna just do that as well, because this is a clutch ability that I'm immediately gonna just bump right into that slot. So it's a nice familiar rotation. And this Lightning Nova just keeps getting relegated further and further down the list. Anyway, let's just double check, make sure we don't have a devotion. Yeah, we do have a devotion point sitting around. Of course we do. That's how I roll. All right, so here, this is actually something to note. I'm unlocking an ability here. I don't know if I've done this before on the record. I must not have. I just started this. I get confused. But we're going to attach this to one of our abilities. Now, the thing about this is it basically is just going to buff my pets when it activates. And so we want something that's going to activate it. Bloody Pox is exactly that thing, right? Because this just ticks over and over and over again. So it keeps rolling that 20% chance over and over again. Hang on. It keeps it's having some weird click issue there, and I still am having some definite fuckery here. Oh, because it's letting me click this, and you know what the best part of being an idiot is? Just being an idiot and filming it so other people can see. I hadn't unlocked this yet. For some reason, I'm just carrying on about that. But anyway, when I eventually do, in like an hour and a half or so, I'll be connecting it to Bloody Pox because it'll keep on rolling that 25% chance on attacks. I'll have just about all the time uptime. You can see what it does there. Just gives extra damage to my pets, which is awesome. But anyway, right now we're just going here, Cunning and Health. Handy. All right. So anyway, yeah, so this is my totem, and it's going to steal life from the enemy, and it's going to heal allies. And later on, it's going to also improve allies and give them buffs and stuff like that. That's a little bit down the road. Anyway, long story that I was going on about before is this whole thing about the computer. So anyway, last night, I just, I had declocked it to encode video, and then I decided, I'm just gonna, I've got this slow old ass computer that, I have my little Linux box downstairs, and I'm like, I can use that, right? Because I could just leave it set up overnight. Sure, it takes like 4 times as long to encode the videos, but I don't really care about that. So then I could clock this one back up, which I did, and then it just went into like a boot loop, like it just clicked on, clicked off, clicked on, clicked off for, a couple minutes or whatever, and then finally came up and said, I failed to start a bunch of times. Thanks, computer. So, I went in and I defaulted and I just fucked around and like, okay, well, let's go to default settings. Let's like make sure that we don't have any BIOS updates or anything like that. None of that. It just does that now. And then it runs seemingly fine. But just fucking, if it ever has to be restarted, make yourself a coffee. So it's going to be time when I get back from my vacation that's coming up here. I'm going to get shopping. New parts time. I've been meaning to get a better motherboard because it is the one thing that I really scrimped on when I built this system. And keep everything else. I mean, there's just no reason to go up from a 9900 right now. It's like, yeah, it's a couple generations old, but I'm not having any problems, playing the games I want to play. Most AAA games, I don't want to buy them, there's just a bunch of shit microtransactions and shit companies and stuff like that. So, the most recent thing I played is Elden Ring because it's exactly the opposite of all those problems. But that just ran beautifully, right? It's locked to 60 frames, just fluid all the time. Looks great, runs great. So I'm not going to upgrade anything, but I am going to upgrade my main board. Throw this thing to the curb. Anyway, kind of lost track of where I am, just cruising along here. We're kind of doing a little transition here. We've got a little boss in this cave, and we're going to pop out on the other side, and we're going to be in the Burridge outskirts. There is something I do want to showcase in this dungeon as well, which is sort of a secondary dungeon. And this is one of the things, right? These zones are partially designed for you to revisit them. The world is quite open, so it's obviously very linear in the way that, here we are, right? We're traveling in this direction. We're going through these set handcrafted maps, and we're going forward in the story. And at the same time, they do manage to maintain some world openness, and that's what I'm going to show you right here. So this here, we've got ourselves a detonation site. Now this takes 3 dynamite to clear this path, right? We're going to blast this obstruction out of our way. Well, you might have noticed that I have a grand total of fuck all dynamite. We haven't even seen dynamite in the game. Well, we're not going to see it until upcoming zones. Right, we've got to kind of complete this entire first area of the game and start moving on from it before we're actually going to start. Man, I keep forgetting I should be in here zapping these things. I'm so used to characters I could just like set it and forget it for like damage over time and stuff. I am not there yet. See this guy here? He's getting summoned because I'm getting slapped around. But anyway, yeah, so this here, just on the other side of this, is a challenge dungeon, which would kill me right now. Like the boss in there would kick my ass. Everything's higher level. It's an elite challenge dungeon, so there's modifiers applied to everything. And so if I remember this is here, which again, we're really saying if I remember that's there, I can always come back to it when I've got a few sticks of dynamite kicking around. Dynamite is craftable. I can't do it yet though. And so yeah, I'll come back into that and go in there and get myself potentially some cool drops and clear that challenge dungeon. You'll see that throughout the game where there's areas that you're going to see that you can't access. We've even passed a couple of them at this point, right? And either because they are too challenging for us and we don't want to go in and get our asses handed to us, or because they're gated behind something like that dynamite mechanic where we just have to get a little further in the game and get our head around that, start picking up those specific items to allow those areas to become accessible for us, and we'll go from there. So needless to say, this is not the last time we've come in this cave, and when we do come back, we will be a bit higher level and pack in some explosives that are going to get us into that room. Another one actually that you're seeing here, this strange key, picked it up off those cultists. Now we're about to get into the area where we can use that, and then we're going to have to make a decision, because that is a spot where we can get ourselves locked in a little room that's going to kill us. But with that said, we also could get a really cool item drop from the guy that's in there trying to kill us. So we'll see. We'll see how we feel about that. We're probably going to feel good about it because we do have a couple of pets. But again, watching this little mayhem, we are shit damaged still, right? So we'll see how it feels. We'll make the snap decision. I'm actually going to use that point. Start inching our way towards all that shit I was babbling about earlier. So this just gives us and our pets a little bit of elemental resistance. We'll take it. And now here's the ancient shambler. This is something sometimes you want to remember. You can see, like, when I mouse over him here, he's an eldritch, so that's his critter class, right? And it pays off to kind of remember particular bosses and stuff like that have certain tags, especially these skull bosses, because as you work on unlocking faction rep, which you're definitely going to want to do both positively and negatively, it's basically going to tell you how to do it, right? So for example, Devil's Crossing, we don't have very many factions unlocked right now, but it's going to show you how to grind that rep. So for Devil's Crossing, which is our starter town there, we can grind the rep by killing members of Cronley's gang, by doing quests that come from that area, and by completing bounties that come from that area. So you're going to see we haven't gained much yet, because all we have access to right now is quests. So as we do quests, we're slowly inching our way up here, basically to become friendly. Currently we're tolerated, and then eventually respected, and then eventually honored, and at long last revered. This is not incredibly important rep, but down the road you're going to see, assuming I survive, you're going to see that some of the rewards you get from faction rep are absolutely indispensable to your character, and you don't want to ignore it. And then, like I say, it pays, right? Because, for example, when you're grinding rep with the factions from Forgotten Gods, they have some outstanding faction rewards that, buff your weapons and stuff like that. And you want to be using those. And I want to be not being a total idiot as well, and actually putting on these level 15 items that I have kicking around. Okay, so there we go. So we've just buffed our. Yeah, see there, we've got some. This is the Spalders that I. Wait a minute. These are better. Yeah, look at that. They're better. They actually have a proccable ability on them. Get out of here, shit Spalders. We'll use those instead. Do I have anything to put on them? Yeah, I got armor, but I want that. I want those mutated scales on there for that % health. And as you can see, like, despite the fact that we've leveled up, we're at 245 spirit right now, so we are getting closer. We need another 17 spirit, and we can actually get this runebound tome up there, which is going to be a little bit of an upgrade. But we are gonna keep this one as well, just for the bleed damage. Probably not going to end up using it that much, though. I'm still not getting a ton done with my bloody box. Now this guy right here, this guy is, again, extremely important. This is one of the 2 smiths that we can invite to Devil's Crossing. He's not going anywhere, though, until he finds this legendary hammer that he's going to use, and he tells us to go find Angram. So we're going to do that. We're going to probably choose this guy. You basically have a choice. I'll explain it then. Don't really need to explain it now. But for now, I'm actually just going to jump back to town, and I'm going to call it a session here. We're at about 35 minutes. And, well, you know what? Let's run around and cash some of this in here. Yeah, so this is Luther Graves. He's a salvage dealer, so he's a merchant. I'd never shop with him. but we did rescue him, so um, that just expands our shopping capabilities and gives us a little bit of XP. And we are going to throw some stuff in the bin here again, so thank you for your service. Oh, see, this is a quest reward, so we actually can't loot it to our item assistant, so we're instead going to just dump it on the vendor. These here, they don't have any move speed on them, so I disdain them as boots, and I don't want them, so I'm just not even going to stow them. And here we go. This is fairly nice. We'll keep that. The rest of this is all pretty much shit. Ooh, except for that. That is nice. We're going to stow that as well. All right. Anyway, though, that's going to be it for this session. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you when we continue with QuestySparks.